G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Fon's Supercoach. Today we will review round 3 and talk about the big talking points coming out of that round, my trades of the week, and what to keep an eye on for round 4. So in round 3 we scored 1,868, which was a pretty poor score, which resulted in a rank change of 7,456 in the negative, 22k overall. I've been in a lot worse positions at this point in the season, so I'm not too worried. I think a lot of the rookies I have are going well. There was a little bit of terrorism, I'll put it, with regards to some rookies, which we'll talk about. There's 3 clubs that I have really ticked me off over the weekend that we'll get into. But yeah, the reason for this score is I lost rookie roulette. I had Davidson on the bench. The Tom Stewart late out, which I probably should have seen coming, but I wasn't willing to field Reed over Stewart for the chance that he would play, which meant I missed Zach Reed's 88 as well. And I had Pal Pepper on field over Sam Davidson. Why would I do that? I can hear you asking, because I expected Port to perform a lot better than they did, and they're one of the teams that I want to put on blast, so we'll get to that. But yeah, they just gave up, so that was pretty disappointing, and it resulted in a poor Pal Pepper score. So he's on the chopping block for me this week, but let's talk about the team. So I brought Dane Zorko in for short last week. I thought that this probably wouldn't be a great game for Dane because it was really wet, but yeah, still pumped out at 135. I don't know, just scores so easily, plays this role the best in the business, so he's just very easy to own. And then Dale was really poor. This 81 was quite lucky. He got, I think, 25 points of scaling for a goal assist to take the lead or the sealer at the end of this game. So that was really fortunate. I thought I was looking at a 60 here, so to get that was awesome. And then Stewart didn't play. We talked about that. I think he will play this week. Melbourne are absolute bunnies at the moment, so I think Stewart normally scores well against Melbourne. I can confirm that by looking at this. Yeah, that's good enough. So yeah, he should be back this week. Roberts didn't play. De Koning gave away a free kick and a 50 in the first quarter, which turned a 70 into a 50, and then got subbed after a knock. So I'm a little bit concerned that Stanley will be back this week to help tackle Gawn. However, Melbourne are going so poorly at the moment, they may not see it as valuable. I will say about De Koning, who I think I will be trading this week, this will be a good game to score against Melbourne, I think. However, the break-even is 95. And whilst I think you could make a little bit more cash, it's not going to be enough to justify holding at this point. I did speak about this when I revealed my team, that I didn't love this pick, and this is why. So I think I'll be moving on from De Koning this week. Jackson Pryor and Zach Reed. It was like watching Aaron Hall and Jack Zeeble all those years ago just wax up in the back line off each other. So these were great scores, will really help their cash gen. They actually played well as well, which will help their job security. I was a little bit worried about Pryor. So yeah, that's great for cash gen. Luke Trainer, 90 against the Saints. That's why I went with Trainer over Reed, because the Saints are a good matchup for defenders for scoring, and Port is the worst matchup, or they have been over the last couple of years anyway. I don't know if that'll persist this year. But that's why I went for this. I did technically win this rookie roulette, but then I lose because Stewart is on the field and not playing. I could have potentially shifted this emergency here, but I was quite concerned about Reed's scoring, and I didn't think I'd get punished like this. So that's why I didn't do that. But yeah, let's get into the mids. Brayshaw was excellent. This was good to see. I was very tempted to shift this shift the C off Roberts onto Brayshaw when I saw O'Meara was out, because I knew that meant that there was going to be heaps of CBAs for Brayshaw. I still don't think that matters. I think he'll go back to his normal scoring this week. He's going to be able to do what he wants against the Dogs, because the Dogs let teams do that, particularly midfielders. So yeah, that'll be good. Dawson, I don't know what happened this game, but he had a random calf strapping, but got through the game, so that was good to see. Really would have liked him to cash in on North, but North's midfield is seeming like it's going to be quite good this year, so it's not the end of the world. I'll take that. Tougher matchup this week, but hope he goes all right. Petrarca. All right, so let's put club number 1 on blast, which is my Melbourne Demons. Losing by 10 goals 2 weeks in a row is pretty embarrassing, particularly to North and then the Suns at home. So gutted to see that. What is going on with Petrarca? So Melbourne is getting belted around the ball. So what does the coach do? He takes the best midfielder out of that midfield and plonks him in the forward line where he's getting no delivery because we're getting belted around the ball. So that is doing my head in to no end, not only as a supporter, but as an owner. I don't think it'll persist. Pickett is back this week. That might mean that Goodwin at least has 1 week where he goes, gee, Petrarca can be used in the midfield more now because we've got some better pedigree in our forward line. I will also say that Goodwin did make a point of pointing out how poor our contest work was in the post-match presser. Petrarca, again, our best midfielder. Oliver's been good this season, but Petrarca is still our best midfielder. I think he'll be in there this week, particularly against Geelong. Next week, I'm not so sure. I still don't think he'll get DPP. The reason I'm going to hold Petrarca is because if he doesn't get more midfield time, he is going to get DPP. And if he does get more midfield time, he's going to come good, in my opinion. So that's good. Melbourne also has a couple of softer fixtures coming up. So round 6 is round 7 is Richmond, and then round 8 is West Coast. So some good scores will come for Petrarca. I would like to start seeing them pretty quickly, but that's why I'm holding Petrarca. I think it's a no-brainer to not hold him. I also think that Goodwin may topple soon. I think he's a good chance of being sacked in the next month. So if that does happen, the first thing you would expect a new coach to do is to just put players in their best positions, send Petrarca into the middle, you start winning some contests. Sorry, I've just smashed my mic. Start winning some contests, try and fix the forward problem once you fix the midfield problem, because the midfield problem's a bigger issue. So that's why I'm holding Petrarca. Let's move on to Adam Chera. He was fine. I don't know. He has really big first halves and really weak second halves. Getting 105 out of a 440k player is excellent, so I'm not complaining. Oliver. Just had a heap of clangers. Was really fumbly. Melbourne was super fumbly this weekend, so I don't know why that happened. They just Gordon said they were rocked in his post or at some point during the week. I don't know how you rocked from 5 minutes into the first quarter, but they were just really fumbly and disappointing. So yeah, and then Nathan O'Driscoll was super good. Not much to say there. If you don't have him, would I still get him? Probably not at this point. There's a lot of really good options this week, which we'll discuss later. And then Lindsay went down early with a suspected ACL injury. It's come back that he has no structural damage. The club has said that he is quite sore, so it sounds like he won't play this week, but he's a chance to play next week. He's listed as 1 to 2 on the injury list. I have a feeling they might be very cautious, so it might be that 2 weeks that he misses, but I'm willing to hold through then. I think he can score. I don't think that halfback role that he had at the start of this game will continue because Windsor's going to be back this week and then McVie will be back in a couple of weeks. But I think he can still score well enough on the wing. And then Nevitt. Coach number 2 on blast, Chris Scott. How the hell is Jai Clark playing a full game over Mitch Nevitt in any conditions, let alone the rain, when Jai Clark is fumbly and not good below his knees and Mitch Nevitt is quite clean and a good tackler? Just make it make sense. Make it make sense. I just don't understand. So that's why I had Nevitt on the field, because it doesn't make sense to have him as a sub. I haven't lost many points from him anyway. He wasn't in my best 18. Doesn't matter, but it has killed his cash general a little bit. If you play fantasy, you're probably absolutely ropeable because he was more expensive in fantasy and was going very well. But yeah, I can't fathom what Chris Scott was doing with that decision. As I said before, Melbourne are very easy to score against at the moment, so it should be a good score for Nevitt this week. There's just no way Jai Clark can hold, right? He was poor last week, so I mean, who knows with Chris Scott. And then Elijah Sardis didn't play. Henderson, he was okay. They got belted in Melbourne, so I'm not worried about this. I still think he can go 50s for us to make enough money. Camporelli, if he's not picked this week, I'll definitely be dealing. Gorn looked cooked this game. Wits is obviously a very tough matchup. I will also say that Melbourne they're kicking less to contests and they're just playing less contested in general, which hurts Gorn's ceiling. So we always talk about Gawn being a very scary fade or a non-own. I think the ceiling's gone for now, so I wouldn't be worried if you didn't have Gawn in the slightest. You probably don't need me to tell you that, but I wouldn't be worried at all. Tom DeCoding was excellent, had the VC on him, so that was good. And then team number 3, Port Adelaide. What is going on? They're just checking out of games. The only game they haven't checked out on is when they belted a team of 19-year-olds. So I don't know what's going on there. Horne-Francis had his moments on the weekend, but just dropping sitters, like fumbly, making poor decisions, just so frustrating. Like having Rankin over Horne-Francis would have been 100 points. This wasn't a pick that I was big on in the pre-season, Horne-Francis. I know in my first team reveal, I said I was fading him for all the reasons why we should have faded him. Although we were told he'd get more mid-time and Butters out would indicate that as well. It just hasn't eventuated. He's been poor. I'm really frustrated with this pick. I'm giving it one more week because I'm going to carry cash into next week, I think, and he's against the Saints. Even if he has a good game against the Saints, I might flip him anyway. I don't know. So frustrated with this Horne-Francis pick and really mad that I went him over Rankin. Rankin was better for the buys and everything. So, yeah, pretty sad about that. McRae was solid. I think he got tagged, so the ceiling was capped, but you take a 120 if he was your captain. Smith was woefully inefficient. I think he went at somewhere between 20 and 30%. So, again, Melbourne very easy to score against. Not worried about that this week. Caleb Daniel was excellent. Designated kicker. Pal Pepper, part of the Port Adelaide, I'm not here to play football brigade. So he had a good first half, but just they came out at half time and were not interested in playing footy. So, yeah, that was pretty disappointing. He's on the chopping block for me this week. Max Hall was awesome. So I fielded Max Hall and Pal Pepper over Davidson I fielded Hall because he's playing Richmond. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me over that. Pal Pepper, I thought, would kick maybe a couple of goals against Essendon. I've been pretty low on Essendon. They've been defending terribly. So I thought he was a good chance for that. Didn't eventuate, obviously. So, yeah, it is what it is. And then Davidson, I think I said in my preseason guide, get this guy in your field. He's going to score. I didn't listen to myself and I got punished. I guess that's deserved. So it is what it is. Going to make stacks of cash. Going to be one of the last rookies to get rid of. Plays at Optus this week. Get him on your field. I would almost be fielding him over a couple of trade-in targets that we're looking at that are mid-prices. But yeah, we'll talk about that. And then Hewitt subbed. I think that's a management thing. Like, I'm not willing to give McQualter the terrorist label yet because I do think it was a management thing. Given that he was quite sore in the preseason and the derbies tend to be very physical. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I still think he'll be able to go 60s and make enough money. So it's fine. And then Ashcroft was quite poor. I think wet conditions are going to make Levi score very poorly because he's not playing inside mid. No doubt if he was playing inside mid, he'd be fine, but there's a lot of good cattle in that Brisbane midfield, so it's not really surprising at all. Not worried about this in the slightest. Has Richmond this week. Get him on your field. So, talking points for this week. First of all, I have identified 5 very good downgrade options. So I'll discuss them. The first one I have is obviously Riley Bice in defence. So positive is this fat break even and the 96 is in his price cycle for another week. The downside is the job security risk. We've seen Mills is going to be out, so that might help him. We have also seen however, that Cunningham and Fox are not too far away. Now, one of my mates is a big Swan supporter, and he thinks Fox is stuck in the 2s this season. So then it comes down to Cunningham. I think I'd be going, if I'm Cox, I'm taking Bice over Wicks at this point. So I think Bice is okay, and he's going to make money quickly enough that it should be fine. He's got North this week, who I think is still giving up decent scores to defenders. Who does he have after that? Collingwood, who are giving up scores to... Collingwood are easy to score against. And then Port. Port at the SCG is probably fine, although Port's generally been a bad matchup for defenders. So I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Their game plan's different, and they seem to have no hunger. They're checked out, disinterested, whatever. So that rule of thumb that Port makes it tough for defenders to score, might be gone this year. So just one to keep an eye on there. In the midfield, we have Moraes, who went 96. Zach Butters is just around the corner, so does Moraes hold his spot? I think he does. I think the one that loses their spot is Mead. So I really like Moraes. I think he's an on-field option. Has the Saints this week. So Port still have a soft fixture, so it's the Saints this week. Hawthorn and Sydney, not that soft. And then North. And then in round 8, maybe you get to cash him in after a game against the Bulldogs at Mars. That's pretty good. Forward line? No, I've got one more midfielder. Harvey Langford, who was about Melbourne's best player on the weekend, if not their best. He has a break-even of 2 because of that sub game in round 1. Some decent matchups coming up. So it appears that Jai Caldwell has a hamstring issue, so he will likely miss this game. So Geelong's midfield and Essendon's midfield should be okay to score against. I think Melbourne has to play Langford. He's one of their best kicks. We saw that on the weekend. He was about the only bloke that could hit a target. What I will say is I still think he's a sub-risk. And I think he could get jammed forward at times. So it's interesting to see what happens there. You could not be faulted for fading Harvey Langford. And of the 5 players I'm going to discuss, he's my least favourite of the 5. So I will just put that out there. But if you wanted a pod rookie option that should give you good on-field scores, I think he could be your man. Now let's move on into the forward line with some mid-prices. Ryan Marich. So he went up 42k this week because he had a 123. Obviously, there's going to be some tougher matchups coming up. The Giants is a really tough one, particularly over there. But Jeremy McGovern has a groin injury that appears to be quite bad. Ryan Marich took almost every kick in on the weekend when McGovern played most of the game. He's going to get even more when McGovern's out. I was hot on this pick in the preseason. He was a sub in round 1, obviously, which that is a red flag in itself. But I think they have to go with him. He takes the good kicks, the difficult kicks that break the game open. As a club that is trying to score, that's one of West Coast's weaknesses. That is good to see. They're going to want that. So that's a tick. He takes the kick-ins. It's another tick. Helps his floor. I'm very interested in this pick. Very interested. The last one is Bailey Humphrey. Now, let's spell that one right. This is not a pick that was on my radar early on in the season. It is worth noting he has had 2 very soft matchups in 2 good wins. I don't know if that'll persist. However, there he goes. Adelaide at home, which looks like it's going to be a cracker of a game. That's probably a bit tougher. Then he goes North that's in Gather Round. And then Richmond at Marvel. So, these games he should be able to score well in. He's going to make a lot of money quickly. Particularly if he can keep going 80s. Very interested in this pick. If you, for some reason, have Bice and Moraes, you could look at both Humphrey and Marich. I think there's valid reasons for taking Humphrey over Marich as well. Just the job security, the fact that he was picked round 1. The role, he's a forward half midfielder. He's going to score. I think he's got good points per minute. 0.09, 1.1. It's not bad at all. He is my 4th option for this week. So he's the one I'm going to fade, which means I am going to boost. Now, if you haven't boosted yet, I think this is the week you go for it. Everyone's boosted a lot of players have boosted at least once to correct their team. This week, there are 5 very good cash cow options, and odds are you're going to have some players that you're not happy with. So you're going to have a Campriali, you could have a De Koning, a Powell Pepper. There's plenty of options. I think this is the week you do it. So I think all of Humphrey and Marich are going to give you good on-field scoring, and they're going to give you cash. So I think they're massive ticks. Bice and Moraes are cheap. And they're going to give... I think Moraes, I'm very comfortable having on field. Bice, not so much. But I think he's going to score enough to... he only has to do 50s, really. 55, and he makes his money. So the cheap guys are good. I know a lot of people don't like picking mid-prices in general, and generally trading mid-prices in during the season isn't great. Now, last year we had Meek. That's the one off the top of my head I can think about. He bucked the trend. He was really good. So those, I think, are your 5 trade-in targets. I think all 5 of them are very good. I like Langford the least because I'm a little bit concerned about role. But Moraes is an accumulator in juniors, playing a good role and has a good fixture. Bice just has that dog in him. I really like Bice. I think he's really good. I think his job security is good and he's cheap. And then Marriage has a really good role. Humphrey has a really good role. I think Marriage's role might even be better than Humphrey's, to be honest, that kick-in defender. It's a safe floor. We have seen Humphrey throw in absolute stinkers before, but he's a bit older. He's very strong, very big, breaks heaps of tackles. Dusty reincarnated for some. Prefer not to put that level of pressure on a kid, but yeah, he's going really well. So you couldn't be faulted for trading in any of those players. If you don't have Bailey Smith, he is still your number 1 priority. He has Melbourne this week. He is going to clown us, okay? Get Bailey Smith in. With that being said, let's talk about players you might be looking to move on. The first one I'm going to discuss is De Koning. I think if you've already held Stewart, you just hold again, even if he doesn't play. Tom De Koning, I think he's got to go. I think there's a chance he might not play this week anyway because he's sore. I haven't got any source to back that up. Just saying, he looked sore. I'm trading him this week. I will say that much. Unless I decide to hold the boost because I don't like being down 2 boosts already, but, we'll see. Let's talk midfielders. Connor Rozee and Christian Petrarca. So I discussed Petrarca. I still think you hold because if his scoring doesn't pick up, he's going to get forward status and his scoring is going to pick up at some point. So I think you hold. Rozee is very interesting. So let's find a poor player. Here we go. And we'll talk about Horne-Francis in a second as well. So St Kilda is probably going to use Windhager on Rozee if I had to guess. That's where the Durham tag went. I would suggest that trend sticks. Another 60 for Rozee is diabolical because if Zach Butters doesn't play this week, he's playing next week. So I think if you don't have any other problems, you could jump off Rozee. Rozee or Horne-Francis, I think I'm jumping off Rozee first, if I'm being totally honest. I think there's more chance that Horne-Francis is top 6, although I think those chances are slim now, compared to Rozee being top 8 in the midfield. That's just my opinion. I know others won't agree with me on that, but that's what I think. I was not keen on Rozee, even with the Butters news. He had 2 massive scores. He's had a flop. He does have a good matchup, but it's likely to be a tag. And then Hawthorn next week could be a tag. Sydney could be a tag. If you hold Rozee for these 3 weeks and he gets tagged in all of them, Rozee, he could be 400k, 450k. He's going to bleed cash. So that's just one to monitor. Gawn, I think you have to hold because he's probably going to be top 3 still. I think the top 3 are still Cherry, De Koning and Gawn, probably in that order. Marshall's interesting, but I think they're going to look to manage him at points in the season. And then I don't love Nank. Briggs is one that I want to talk about. So he's 516k with a 202 break even after a 99 because of his injury. He does have West Coast, so he can probably put up a big score in this game. He's got Adelaide as well, which is a bit of a tougher fixture, but it sort of opens up after that. English is easy, Grundy's washed. De Koning, this is tough. De Koning, again, easy to score against. Then Richmond, it does open up. I think he could be interesting particularly if he loses 50k this week. All of a sudden, he's a decent stepping stone, particularly if you've got Flynn. I think if you have Flynn, you can hold again because it's best 18. But the week after that, best 22, you got to get rid of him. So that's my take anyway. If you've still got Flynn, you hold, and then you can look at Briggs. I don't know if you'd be looking to find cash for Gawn. But yeah, and then, sorry, I'll jump back into the midfield with these rookies. I think you still hold Lindsay, Nevin and Sardis. Yeah, big fans on that. Oh, also, by the way, there was a viewer who commented on one of my videos last week asking between Murphy Reid and Mitch Nevitt. I just wanted to apologise. I suggested very heavily that you should go Mitch Nevitt. Someone else in the comments as well agreed with me. I couldn't have foreseen Chris Scott going full donkey. They just deserved to lose the game, Geelong, for this decision, in my opinion. I think it probably did cost them the game as well. So, yeah, I do apologise to you. Murphy Reid goes 100, Nevitt goes 20. That hurts. I understand. I still think what I said is true. Reid's role when Hayden Young comes back is not good. Nevitt's role is good regardless, provided he holds his spot. I don't know why Chris Scott threw this spanner in the works, but here we are. So I just wanted to apologise to you. I am sorry. I still think in the long run it'll be correct, but I understand that it looks painful right now. Also, Tristan Cherry, by the way, what an absolute warrior. He is the man in the ruck now. He's taken over the mantle from Max Gawn. I wonder if he misses a week just with that hamstring. He got through the game all right, but he was looking in trouble in that first quarter. I can't believe he got through the game, to be frank, and to give you a semi-decent score. You know, what a warrior is Tristan Cherry. I love watching the way he goes about it. So, yeah, if you do have Gawn, I wouldn't be looking to go to Cherry yet. Does still have tough matchups. Although I will say I don't think matchups matter for Cherry anymore. I think he's the ruck that is above tough matchups. I think De Koning is in a way as well. I was a doubter at the start of the season, but I am admitting I was wrong on Cherry. I'll be very keen to get him in at some point, but I want to make sure that hamstring's okay first. So if you have Gawn, I think you hold. I wouldn't be going Cherry yet. You can look to go Briggs next week though, so keep that in mind. You will still make money on that. I think Gawn's got a 212 break even. Oh boy. All right, other talking points. Horne-Francis, I have spoken about at length. If you have no other issues and you don't have Isaac Rankin or Bailey Smith, I'd be going there. I do have other issues. De Koning, Camprielli not playing, Sam Spud Pepper, so it is what it is. And I think those are the main talking points. I would still hold Hewitt as well. I think he'll play this week. Let's talk trades. So I have played around with this a little bit. I discussed getting rid of these guys. I am boosting. I'm not massive on that. As I said, I am going Riley Bice, Moraes, and Marriage. Which means I'm holding 213k, which I don't love, but here we are, for next week. What will I be looking to do with that? So originally I was thinking Callum Mills. Could potentially go early, get one of these rookies up. The rookie's fired and Mills got injured. So I'm not going to be doing that. I will probably end up moving on Horne-Francis next week, regardless of how he goes, unless he pops up with a massive score. Like if he hits break even, there's no way I'm trading. But that's one I'll look at. I don't think there are any... Is there any players who played one game? Any like cheaper type players? There's a way of doing this. Less than 3 matches. All right, who's played one game? Ooh, Travaglia. Interesting. We'll see how he goes against Port. I think El Hawley should come in, by the way. Like I reckon he'll get a full game this week, so that'll be good. He was really good when he came on. Dudley, I wouldn't be going there. He's a small forward. So yeah, I wonder if we get Clay Hall. He looked really good. So there's not a heap of options next week. I'd be keeping your eyes on El Hawley and Travaglia. So maybe it's a week where you can hold a trade. Having this cash is okay then. So yeah, I'll be looking to get... Well, how much is Rankin? How much did he end up going up? Not too much in the end. Didn't get punished. Break even 103. That sub game against Essendon saved me so hard. I got absolutely bailed. Like, Rankin should be punishing me way harder than he is at the moment. Also, I wanted to... Just on that, I was thinking that maybe Zorko is at risk of getting subbed out in games where Brisbane's significantly far ahead. So, just on that, he's got Richmond this week. I want to give him the vice captaincy because... And I'll just put that there now. Because I think he is going to be the biggest scorer of the round. I don't want to go straight C because I am concerned of him getting subbed out at 3/4 time if they're going well. Worth also noting that they have... he won't get subbed against the Dogs, you wouldn't think. Or Collingwood. Okay, maybe he won't get subbed that much. Saints is maybe. I think he got subbed out against the Saints precautionarily last year. Or to be rested, sorry. So that's something to keep an eye on. I would not be going with the C on Zorko this week. Love it as a vice-captain. Skeptical of it as a captain. Which is frustrating because I think Bailey Smith is a really good captain's option as well against Melbourne. Which means I have to find somewhere else for my captaincy. And I think I'm landing here. Andrew Brayshaw. Although that scares me a little. I would love to know what the point... I'd love to know why this happened. Okay, that's interesting. I don't love Dawson this week. DeConing plays earlier. McRae's probably a no. I think I'm going to run this. I could bite the bullet with Zorko and say he'll make enough money. He'll make enough of a score before then. Maybe I'm overthinking this. But yeah, this is how... Let me get this guy on the field. Sorry, just setting this up for this week. So yeah, this is how I'm going to line up this week. Let me know what you think. 5 big trade targets this week and some concerning picks at the moment. So I hope you guys had a better week than me. Let me know how you went in the comments and I will see you next week. Bye guys.